Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of This is Revolution Podcast. I am your host, Jason Miles, and if you're new to the channel, please hit like, please hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell as we are constantly adding new programming to the channel all the time, like this show. This is a new thing we do every other Monday. We do a sports show. So welcome to Beyond the Red Zone. Also, we will be going live, usual time, 6 p.m. Pacific time, on This is Revolution Podcast. We'll be talking with, you know what sucks? I forgot the brother's name. But he debated Jordan Peterson, and he sent us this video of it, and it's kind of insane. So that's going to be a fun show tomorrow. And then Wednesday, for our This is Revolution Presents, we're going to be dropping another video essay. Finally finished it. 3 o'clock in the morning, was finally all done with it. It is called Personal Jesus, the Seduction of Philanthrocapitalism. I was just recently on David Feldman's show, actually literally before I ran in here to turn this on with my co-host, my homie, my dog, Pascal Robert, that is still on the David Feldman show. So get ready for that Wednesday. Pascal was triggered by it. He literally said it on air. He said, I was triggered by your video essay. And I'm in a good way, in a good way. Also, the thumbnail for today's show is a quarterback from the 80s. Does anyone remember him? Let's see if our host, Mac, remembers the quarterback. Please welcome, from You Don't Know History Pod, he is the Monday Night Maction. It's Big Mac.
What's up, everybody? Yeah, I mean, I figured since we're only doing this every other Monday, I put a weird name down there. Like last time was Miss Maxon, if you're nasty. So I'm just gonna keep doing weird shit. But I hope everybody's doing well.
Do you know who the quarterback is on the screen?
Wasn't that Tom Tupa?
Nope.
No. I'm trying to think if we're
Different
talking.
number. Tupa had a different number.
Cardinals QBs in the 80s. Let me
Want
see.
a hint?
Yeah. Let me
Went to an
hint.
Ivy.
What's that?
You went to an Ivy.
Oh, he went to an Ivy. Then I'm really not going to know because I don't pay attention to any of those nerds. I mean, the only Ivy League quarterback I know is Fitzmagic, because that guy was like a Harvard grad. So
I don't think they went to the same school. Did they go to the same school? I don't remember, but I remember he went to an Ivy. I'm mildly blanking. I almost put his college picture up, but I was like, that's just a jerk move. No one's gonna know the college picture. But for me, growing up and watching football in the 80s, he was definitely a staple of CBS afternoon games, especially when the Cardinals moved.
Dude, I got nothing.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
You stumped me. We're like 2 minutes in and I already look like an idiot. Awesome.
He threw for a lot of yards. Does that help? I'm mad Dr. Claus said Tom Tupa. DeBerg. I don't even know if DeBerg ever played for the Cardinals. He played everywhere. It was not DeBerg.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
DeBerg never had seasons like Loman.
What?
It's Neil Lomax.
Oh yeah, he was in 1984 draftee, right? Was he part of that class? No.
Tupa. Lomax came out in 79, 80.
Okay.
Oh, he's old.
Who am I?
I want to say he played under Coryell before Coryell left to go coach the Chargers.
Because it was Marino, it was Kelly.
Oh, 83? No.
Yeah, the 83 draft.
He was already in the league.
Who was that? Fucking the dude
Would you
who
like
just
to know
ended up
all the
being
first round quarterbacks from that draft?
like straight trash. He went to Penn State, I think.
You're talking about Todd. He's a broadcaster now.
Yeah, that's who I was thinking of.
So that draft had my favorite, maybe the greatest quarterback of all time, John Elway, came out in that draft. Dan Marino comes out in that draft in the later rounds, or the late first round.
Yep.
Todd Blackledge comes out in that draft. Tony Eason, who took the Patriots to their first ever Super Bowl appearance, comes out in that draft. From the University of Illinois. I think that's it for quarterbacks.
Yeah. I remember Eason specifically because I am a Pats fan, and that was the first quarterback I remember. And the thing is, Eason did get him there, and then did nothing in that game, and then it did
Oh, he got.
nothing
I mean, that
afterwards.
team was not built to handle the Bears.
Yeah. Yeah,
No,
that
it was
86.
not built. It was
Yeah, that
not. Let's just look. There was one team that was built to handle the Bears, and that was the Miami Dolphins. And I don't know if they could have done that again. If they had to play again in the Super Bowl, I don't know if Miami is able to do that dismantling of Chicago that they did in that Monday night game. I don't think they could do that again.
Yeah, I mean that was one of those like perfectly coached, perfectly executed. Everybody did what they were supposed to get that win. And I agree. Like, I don't think you could do perfection twice. It's hard to do it in one game, let alone two.
I mean, that Dolphins team was, again, kind of built to destroy that 4-6 defense because of the outside, Duper and Clayton,
Yep.
And because of Marino's quick release. Could they have done it again? Would the Bears have done something insane, like maybe drop some more guys in the back just to F with Dan Marino? I don't know, because I think there's an aspect to sports that we don't talk about, which is hubris. I think that is the downfall of many coaches, of many athletes, which is just arrogance. Well, we can just do this doing our thing instead of, some people want to be the strategy person. They always want to move chess pieces around, and some people are like, this is the system, and it works every time. I mean, Roger Staubach had a very tear-filled story talking about leaving the Cowboys and how cold Tom Landry was, because Landry believed so hard in his system being the thing that made players great. But also Hollywood Henderson, who battled with drugs the majority of his life, I think he even spoke at Landry's funeral. He said Tom Landry's like one of the few people that actually checked on him as he was falling down drug-filled rabbit holes. So human beings are complex.
That they are.
Human beings are complex. So the people are looking up. They said Rich Campbell, first quarterback taken in the 81 draft.
Jesus,
I couldn't tell you who Rich Campbell effing played for.
Nope.
Neil Lomax was the second quarterback taken. Lomax played a lot of years in the NFL. He put up very good numbers. He actually had some pretty good receivers throughout his career. He had some decent running backs, guys like Stump Mitchell.
Vicekahema.
Returning all those kicks. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and he was also kind of like a scat back before it was a thing. He caught a lot of balls out of the backfield. I can't believe I pulled that name out. Jeez, I'm on a roll tonight, man.
It's interesting to go. There's this guy, and I know we have some things we're going to talk about hoop, and we're going to talk about all the fun shit. There's this guy that has a football channel that I watch when I leave this show, and even when I do the This Is Revolution stuff, I try to go watch something that has nothing to do with whatever we talk about, right? And there's this dude that has a football channel, and he just I feel like it's every day, he puts a video up about something that happened in the world of football that is something we generally don't think about, like how the Rams drafting Joe Dramain led to them being the greatest show on turf, because they drafted Joe Dramain. They end up cutting this other person. They didn't go after Jeff Hostetler like they wanted. And because they had Joe Dramain, and then Trent Green got hurt, they ended up getting Kurt Warner instead when they really wanted Hostetler as a backup. Joe Germain was one of these, supposedly first round guys that couldn't miss, and he wasn't a first round guy. They ended up getting him in the fourth round.
Yeah.
And he did not do well in spot duty and was out of football soon. But videos like that. And one of the things I find interesting is that the value people put in statistics. And I'll ask you this question. Is that part of capitalist realism when we talk about sports, that we can only appreciate players because of the intrinsic value of numbers?
I mean, I would say, yeah, absolutely. Like that goes hand in hand with capitalism, right? We have to put a market value on something. How do we do that with athletes? To determine if they're worth X amount of millions of dollars, right? It's the numbers they put up in a given season and over a given time. I mean, the thing is, it's like, um, you know, especially in this country, we appreciate like longevity, right? Like we want these guys that are going to play for 10 to 15 years. I mean, quarterbacks are playing longer, but your average career in the NFL is not long at all. It's not long. Um, it's football's kind of like an outlier, because if you look at basketball, baseball, hockey, you can go overseas and play anywhere and make a decent living, right? Because they're still wildly popular, especially in like Central and South America. Um, we're seeing a lot of major ball players go to Korea now to play in the KBO. Um, because you can be a guy, like just a dude, we'll say 20th guy on the bench. You play like maybe once or twice a week. You come in for spot duty at the end of blowouts. You're making $500K. Well, over in the KBO, you can be making $1.5 million. You look at basketball. I mean, it's a wildly popular global sport, and almost every country has improved their national leagues. I mean, even New Zealand has a pretty, I would say, decent. You can't compare it to like Spain or like Turkey, but their league was good enough for one of the ball boys to go play down there for a year, rather than going to college, right? So like there's opportunities for play go overseas and play, except if you play football. You know, um, Not everybody's going to be Warren Moon and opt to go play in Canada when they're told, hey, you're a black dude, you can't play
Yeah.
quarterback for the league. We want to switch you to safety. And he was like, okay, dude, I will go and play in Canada. And he had, 6 amazing years in Edmonton, where he rewrote the CFL record book, before running the run and shoot down in Houston for all those years. I mean, that guy played till he was like 43 years old.
At a relatively high level too. I mean, let's keep in mind Warren Moon, whether it was the run and shoot or kind of more traditional offenses that he got to play in more towards the end of his career. He saw a fair share of playoff games. He definitely put up ridiculous numbers in the league. Someone brings up Stephon Marbury going overseas. I just asked the question because in this video I was watching from this guy, I think his channel's called Jaguar 6'9" or something 989 or something. He's a Florida guy, apparently a Jaguars and Dolphins fan, or a Jaguars and Canes fan, I think. Anyway, he's always talking about football. He has some interesting takes on past situations that happen that have been kind of domino situations where this one thing happened and that's why this happened, or the craziest day in the NFL when this happened in 84. And the guy's kind of got encyclopedic knowledge of the game. But there is a certain way that he talks about players that don't pan out, which is just real mean. And we've all done it. I'm definitely part of it too. This guy's me and you were joking on Twitter the other day talking about
Sam Darnold.
But I've been watching. Do you remember a college player named Max Brown?
What school?
He went to SC and he ended up transferring to Pitt, and then he got hurt. You probably don't remember him. He was a 5-star coming out of high school, 6'5", 230, coming out of high school.
Yeah.
He was going to be the heir apparent to Who was the dude that stayed too long at USC at quarterback?
Stayed too long?
Yeah, he's back up right now in Buffalo.
Oh, oh my gosh, dude.
You know who I'm
Was
talking about.
was it Kessler?
No, he came in with
Shit.
Kessler. He came in and Kessler was a year or two above him.
Yeah, give me a second. I'm trying to. Let's go through. So we went from
Matt. The guy's name is Matt.
Barkley, right?
Matt Barkley. Matt
Yeah.
Barkley. He was like, I'll be the next Matt Barkley, right? Barkley came in, early, right? Graduated high school early so he could go work out with the team. So this guy was going to be the next guy at USC. Kessler ends up beating him out, who's like a year or two older. By the time Kessler and Vidic leave, it's his job to lose. He loses the job. USC's his first start. I don't know if it was his first start, but because he had got hurt, and then he comes back. USC opens the season against Alabama. Bama blows him out 56 or 52-6. And I'm watching this guy as a grown man now talk about his failures. And it's kind of interesting to hear him talk. He's very humble. He talks about the pressures of being a 5-star coming out, and he doesn't blame anything on. He didn't have a drug problem or gambling problem. It was just one of those things. It just didn't work out. Injuries didn't help. But we're so quick to throw people away and kind of call them names in sports. This guy is trash because of A, B, C, and D. And especially in sports like football, where system is extremely important. The talent around you is extremely important. Your ability, we don't really know these people's ability to grasp playbooks. We're finally talking about racist dog whistling in our critique of black quarterbacks in 2022. Maybe the last couple of years, we're finally really talking about it. And still, as I was reading a few draft reports on the Malik Willis kid, one of the harsher critiques I read was that he just doesn't grasp complex offenses. And I don't know how true that is, right?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. It's I started listening to Playmakers by Mike Florio, a really good book about I really enjoyed it so far. I'm probably a quarter way through it. But he brought up a good point about the Wunderlich test that every team administers. And it's supposed to measure a player's, intellectual abilities. And it's some of the dumbest fucking questions that you're gonna see on a test. And the thing is, they have 6 different versions, and you remember that's what they knocked Vince Young with. Because remember, the first time he took it, he scored a 9 out of 50. And then the second time he took it, he got a 12, and apparently above 10 is good to go. I don't understand the scoring behind it.
Neither do I.
But the fact of the matter is, it's when you hear knocks like that against Malik Willis, who played in a fairly, I'm not going to say it's the most complex system, right? But it's complex for the speed option, right? It is. That's the way. What's his name? The coach at Liberty? I forgot his fucking name already. Anyway,
Mike Leach?
No, Leach isn't at Liberty.
You're talking about the coach at Liberty? I don't know who the coach is at Liberty.
Yeah. But it's Hugh Freeze. That was his name. The old Miss guy, right? He ran. It's not the easiest spread option system to learn. So let's not say that he can't pick it up. And for me, this is how I look at it, right? You coach in the NFL. This is a multi-billion-dollar business. If you've got a generational talent like Malik Willis is, the guy, I watch his pro day, the dude can make every single throw. And you could tell he really worked on his footwork to hit those intermediate slants, which is something he struggled with, the last 2 years at Liberty. But why not just tailor the offense to him? Remove a lot of the complex verbiage and truncate that playbook. You don't need a 600-page playbook. You don't. No. You can be pretty successful running the same probably 8 plays out of multiple formations. Kyle Shanahan does that. right?
Ask Drew Brees how that's worked out for his career.
Yeah, so you don't need a playbook that big. It doesn't need to be complex. If I'm a quarterback needy team and I've got a pick in the first 5, you bet your sweet ass I'm turning in a card that says Malik Willis on it. You know, and then and then when we get to actual camp, we can sit down and see what we got. You know what I mean? Like, I think that is far more important than, some stodgy dickhead, scout that's like, well, he's not smart enough to do it. And it's like, are you kidding? Like, I just don't understand scouts like that. I don't understand why you would still use a stupid test like the Wunderlich. I mean, I don't even understand why you have players running 40-yard dashes because, you know, the only time you're going to see a player run 40 yards is when something really good happened or something really bad happened. That's it.
I think at this point we have to admit that the combine is no longer the exclusive scouting show that it was when we didn't have television access to it. Now it's a part of keeping the NFL a 24/7 12 a 12-month sport.
Yeah.
Basketball is trying to do the same thing with their quote unquote combine. Baseball will never be able to do it because they just literally have an off season. But it is interesting to watch the combine go from this thing. When I was a kid, it was like, oh, there's a thing called the combine, and NFL films will show you like little shots of it. And now it's just, there's cameras everywhere. Were people able to come this year?
No, I think they had it open, or they only had it open for like trainers and like support staff for the actual athletes.
It's still closed off. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I mean, the thing is, like, so many players are just like, I'm not going to the combine. I'm going to work out at my pro day.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. Be comfortable. Like, you're actively working out where you went to school. You're throwing to guys, I mean, it's nuts. And I don't blame them. Like, I think that's a smart play for the players because you're taking more control, especially when you play a sport where, the very foundations are anti-American, right? Because when you get down to it, when you are at the top of your field, you can have a choice of wherever you'd like to go to work. You don't get that choice in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, like if you are getting to you're graduating college, or leaving after your junior year, and you're good enough to get drafted, you're going to go where you're told to play because that's just the way it is, right? Like it literally inhibits the variability of these people to choose where they want to play. And then let's face it, first round picks, you are locked into a contract for 5 years, right? You can't renegotiate it until after the third. So it's like, this is what kills me is we have all these like hyper capitalists that watch these fucking games, man, and they just completely ignore that fact. Like it's just it's maddening.
Like what's again why I wanted to do this show, and I can't stress this enough, is driving down to move to Mexico last year, and my phone died, and I didn't have any of my own music to listen to, so I just turned it on sports talk radio, and it was just right winger after right winger, saying the most asinine, over the top, offensive, racist shit you could ever imagine, and it's just sports talk.
Yeah,
it becomes what we're accustomed to, and then that's just the lexicon of sports becomes like really, really offensive, kind of right wing, really pro capitalist way to look at the sport and the way to look at people. And in doing doing this video essay, which this is the longest it's ever taken me to do one. It took like a week for me to finish it. And it's on the idea of like philanthrocapitalism. And in doing it, I was doing this research on India. I don't know if you know about Bill Gates in India.
No, I do not.
Bill Gates and kind of the Jamie Dimon, Visa, MasterCard, the Obama administration, USAID, Modi convinced India to remove 2 bills from their circulation, which were
That's
two.
right. Yeah. And didn't it lead to a run on banks for them to try and swap the old ones for the new ones, and they didn't have enough? Or am I in the ballpark?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't new ones. It was, we're going to take them out of circulation.
Okay.
You got to use an app.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And so the app that you had to use, not everybody had a cell phone. Cell phones aren't ubiquitous over there like they are over here. Corey Pine, who we did an interview, his wife was teaching in rural India, and she said there was a phone for the village.
Yeah, I read Live, Work, 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 Die. Corey
So yeah,
Pine is one
we
of my
talked about at the
favorites.
end.
Yeah.
We actually had his wife on just to talk about her time in India, and in doing more deep dive research into why that was, and there is a kind of a war on cash. We're not seeing it the way the developing world is seeing it, and it's not, of course, it's not going to get reported here to the same level that maybe people need it to be reported. But when you think about peer-to-peer payment systems, Square Cash, Venmo, that's commodifying you and I going out to dinner and I not have any cash on me, and you going, oh, don't worry, I got it, get me later. Now it's like, oh, no, let me pay you with let me Venmo you.
Yeah.
And they're going to take 50 cents on us paying each other. And yeah, the apps didn't work, and they were fraught with problems, and I know Pine talks about it a little bit, but just more of kind of the run on suicides that it caused. There's like a place called like Suicide Alley or some shit like that, part of India, where a lot of farmers were killing themselves. And there's other reasons why too, not just the worthlessness of money they had an abundance of, but that you kind of change the nature of transactions. And that's literally what they said they wanted to do, under the camouflage of we're fighting terrorism and we're bringing India into the 21st century.
Yeah, I mean that's the horrible part, because it wasn't just Modi. Actually, there were another couple prime ministers and presidents in smaller, like Southeast Asian countries, that were like really trying to push the cashless society bit.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's like, as well as I do, a lot of these apps that are being developed now, like, they can't be used on older cell phones, right? Like the software doesn't jive. um you know or like, you just have people that don't have ready access to a bank account, so when they conduct transactions for whatever, like, if they're farmers, the cash stays at home, like,
Yeah.
it, it's a one of these horrible aspects of this hyper capitalism that we live in, where we look at technology, right? And this is now the standard. Like, how um, this is how great your nation is, when I could, have food delivered through an app, or I can send you $20 because you hooked me up last week through an app, right? But every transaction, like you said, this company is getting a cut, and it's kind of like uh, Office Space, right? Where they put that thing in the computer, and it's only supposed to take like 1/10 of one, or one
Oh,
hundredth of a cent,
yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
but they fucked it up by because they put the decimal in the wrong place. But that's essentially what this stuff is, because it's only a few companies that are running multiple apps in multiple countries that are doing this. And I mean, I hate the fact that I have to have an app for damn near everything now, right? I don't want one,
Everything. Yeah. And it's
you know?
also to like mine your data. It's and again, I'm going to be brief because I know we want to talk about some sports shit. We're a half hour in, but being so removed, my phone is too old to update. I can't even get the new operating system. I can't run a bunch of applications. Thank God I can run it as a camera for now. And I'm so used to walking around with a card that moving to this slightly more rural part of this country that I'm in, not a lot of places take cards. Even if I want to get gas in my gas tank for my house, I got to pay cash. I got to go pay cash for my Wi-Fi bill. I have to physically go to a place and pay cash. And because my house doesn't show up on navigation, I can't get food delivery. Like all the creature comforts that I thought were kind of these, I wouldn't say good parts of capitalism, but I just kind of came to accept them.
Yeah.
Removing myself from it. And then, also kind of doing this video essay kind of showed me how entrenched in the system that we all are, and how that does change the way you even look at people, because we're constantly putting a literal value on people. And that kind of fucked me up when I was watching this guy talk about, athletes. I was like, Dean, why are you so fucking mean?
Yeah. I mean, but look at the big, Twitter to do about a Planet Fitness saying, employees cannot discuss wages with each other because it's leaking proprietary information about Planet Fitness, and that they would be, if they heard it again, they would take legal action against the employee, right? Well, it took just a quick Google search, and there was a lovely young lady that had a rebuttal in which, she said pretty much, you're full of shit, but this is what Planet Fitness thinks that I'm worth, and here's my wages. And everybody put their wage down.
It's not much money. I think they make minimum wage.
I think the highest one I saw was like $13.50 an hour.
It's not a lot of money at Planet Fitness.
No,
it's a lot of work. They only keep 2, maybe 3 people on staff at a time.
Yeah, but like you're absolutely right. Like we the big American, we've allowed ourselves to have a monetary unit placed on us and what we're worth. And honestly, it's through voter apathy, and kind of like this bipolar electoral structure that we have, where we only have 2 options, and people, rather than actually getting upset and working together to force change, we just roll with it, and we end up voting for 2 parties that are just different sides of the same coin. And honestly, until we do one of 2 things, which, and this is just my opinion, this is not like a roadmap, but until we literally end first past the post, the first past post electoral system, and as well expand the House to where more people are going to be represented, honestly, more locally. I mean, look, like the House of Commons in the UK has over 600 members for a country that size. We are capped at 435, and these districts just keep getting larger and larger as they become more gerrymandered, right? So, I mean, I think those 2 things need to happen before we see any change. And then, honestly, I'd like to see the Senate abolished and the Supreme Court knocked down to like 5-year terms. But,
dude, I watched Bill Gates' Senate hearing from 1998 for the essay. There's a lot of stuff that's online that people don't like. His deposition is online from 1997, the Microsoft antitrust case.
Oh yeah, the one where he started like getting agitated, visually, and started like threatening. He's
not a nice man. He's way more. I think he's like Lex Luthor in a cardigan.
Yeah.
These guys are pretty evil. But let's talk about college basketball.
Yes.
We left off, and after we did our show, Marcus and I did a show with Matt Leck and David Griscom from Left Reckoning on This Is Revolution. We did a cross stream, which I do one once a month with those dudes. And in that, we talked a little bit about college basketball and how excited those guys were to see Coach Krzyzewski walk off in defeat.
Yeah, see, I live in North Carolina, so I have to deal with shithead Duke and Carolina fans all the time. But the kicker for me is it's like Duke is a private school. A lot of blue bloods go there. I don't have to deal with them very often, right? It's very rare I meet one in the wild. But Carolina fans
you meet more Tar Heel fans?
Oh,
you're in Fayetteville though.
Oh, dude, everybody here's a fucking Carolina fan, man. And so I got off work pretty early, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go out to dinner. I'm gonna have like a beer. I'm gonna watch this game, right? And I'm surrounded by Carolina fans, and Carolina came out like on fire, and I was just like, oh man, dude, like Kansas could hit water if they fell out of a boat. Like they just looked bad. They were getting out rebounded. They were playing really bad defense. And Carolina was just hitting everything, right? And then halftime hit, and Kansas throughout the entire tournament has been like a second half team, right? And they came out and like the shoe was on the other foot. Kansas was hitting everything. They're rebounding well. And I could just see the desperation and like the fear in all these Carolina fans forming. And it just like made me feel really good. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to stay and watch the rest of this game, right? I'm going to stay and watch the rest. So I got another beer. And then, Carolina, ends up taking the lead. Like there was quite a few lead changes going into the end of the game. And when Kansas pulled it out, you just, oh no, how could this happen? And I'm just laughing, like audibly laughing at all of them. And they're like, what team do you like? And I'm like, dude, I don't even like college basketball. I was like, I just want to see you guys lose. That's it, But it was a really good game. This was a really great tournament. It warmed my heart that Carolina lost. I also think that, it's kind of poetic that Carolina gave Coach K his first loss, and it also gave him his last one. So even if Coach K had the upper hand and wins in the win column, he still has to go to wherever Coach K goes to retire. Knowing that Carolina gave him his first and his last loss, which
you thought he was going to stay if he lost. I think you were the one that said that you thought he was going to stay on.
Yeah, I really did. But I mean, it looks like he looked done. I mean, and after, I think he's coached a total of 50 years. I get it, man. Just be done. I mean, for me, I don't want to go out like that. I'm not losing it. If I'm the head coach at Duke and I lose to Carolina, in the elite, in the Elite Eight or Final Four, fuck you, dude. No, I'm coming back next year. I'm telling my handpicked, successor, whoa, pump the brakes, dude. You're gonna wait one more, and then you can take over. But I'm not going out like that. But then again, I'm petty. I am honestly, I'm a self-admitted very petty person.
I think a lot of these people at that level are probably more petty than we think. Again, humans are complex creatures, right?
Yeah, I mean, and I think the kicker at all of this, we had a really good tournament from everything that I could find out about it. But St. Peter's, the 15th seed that went to the Elite Eight, they were the darlings. They lost their top 3 players to the transfer portal last week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, their coach just left. He took the Seton Hall job.
You knew that was coming.
Yeah. You knew he was going to get poached, right? But I mean, I didn't see the top 3 leaving, that after having all that, the press and everything that came with being kind of like the Cinderella. So, I mean, it was a nice run, St. Peter's. I'm glad I got to learn that your mascot is the Peacocks, and it'll be great never hearing from you again. I'm glad you had a good year.
Does that kind of go back into what we started talking about early on in the show about the kind of the capitalist realism about sports, that we think sports sometimes is a sanctuary where these things don't really exist, but there's dynasty monopolies in sports that definitely monopolize coaching talent, and they definitely monopolize players. Basketball is no exception. I mean, if you bring a team to the Elite Eight and you coach at a small school, you're about to get a big fucking job offer.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. I wouldn't even say their head coach. He took a step up, right? But it's Seton Hall. That's not, that's not the big leagues. People like to say, well, it's the Big East. It's the new Big East. It's the, it's the Catholic schools from the old Big East.
It is the old Big East. But, I mean,
it's the Big East outside of Villanova hasn't really done a whole hell of a lot, right? Seton Hall, is just like, I mean, if this man could recruit the way he did at St. Peter's and kind of build that program up, sure. Like he showed he can coach. Obviously he can. Like he took a team with like, or a team from a school that only has like 3,000 students all the way into the Elite Eight. He knows what he's doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like whether we like to admit it or not, the Power Five conferences are going to have a stranglehold on talent, on the ability to get the best coaches, to build the best facilities, to have the best trainers, that these smaller schools are not ever going to be able to keep up with, and I've had this discussion with a couple of my buddies, where which is harder to win in, college football or college basketball, because there's 100, I believe, like 125 or 126 FBS teams now, right? Like the top level of college football. And then you have over 300 D1 basketball programs.
Jesus, I didn't realize it was that many.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot more conferences because you got to think, to run a basketball program, you need 15 kids, jerseys, shorts, and sneakers, and then some dickheaded coach, right? But when you look at football, you got to have all the protective equipment. You got, it's a much more robust program that you have to pay for. But honestly, I think college football is harder because whether we like to admit it or not, we were just talking about, the Power Five is always going to have a monopoly on all this. And they spend a lot of time beating each other up on the field and then beating each other up fighting for recruits, right?
Yeah.
College basketball, the blue bloods are always going to get 5 stars. Like that's just a given, like the Dukes, the Carolinas, the Kansases. And I mean, honestly, I don't know how Kansas bounced back from this, but they're scheduled for sanctions coming from the NCAA. They've got 2 level 1 notices of allegations.
Are they losing scholarships? Or are they losing what?
I don't know. But it's tied to that FBI probe into college basketball that started when Pitino was still at Louisville. So,
can I ask you a question? Trying to stay on topic, but a little off topic, and I'm asking this question. So, for those of you that are new to the show, we never put the chat on the screen for the free shows because we've had some issues with putting the chat on the screen. But because this is a sports show, I feel like this is a good group of cats that are watching right now.
Yeah.
And so I want to ask this question to the cats that are watching, and of course, the host, Mac. I don't think we're ever going to see sanctions like we saw with SMU in the mid 80s or late 80s with the death penalty.
Yeah, I think it was, they hit in 86 and then took effect in the 87 and 88 season.
They're still trying to recover from that, in my opinion. Do you guys care when you hear things about FBI probes into, and I'm not talking about like crazy stuff that happened at Penn State. I'm talking like, our players getting paid, our players gambling. Is that something that you guys care about, where you want to see FBI probes into things like that? Or do you think that should be handled by the school? Do you think the school can handle it? Do you think the NCAA can handle it?
This is where I am conflicted, right? Because I think I've said it multiple times. Mark Emmert, the president of the NCAA, is a spineless jellyfish and horrible person who has gutted the NCAA's essentially regulatory arm to the point where they can get a notice of allegations about, we'll say, like cheating, right? Like, we'll use Carolina, like the fake class scandal, right?
Okay.
They had been notified years prior, right, that this was going on. And because the regulatory arm is so small, it took them like 2.5 years to build and send a rebuttal to the university. Like, this is what we found, and we, the thing is, the school gets to send a letter back, right? Like, well, we had no idea this was happening, right? And essentially, these fake classes were centered on the football team and the basketball team, right? The men's basketball team. Well, who got punished for it, though? Like, who took it on the chin? Women's soccer, women's basketball, right? They somehow shifted it to ensure that the two big money winners at UNC weren't going to have any kind of scholarship reductions or, loss of like camp days or anything like that, right? And that's why I don't trust the NCAA. On the other hand, though, if you let the school handle it, you're going to end up like what is happening now at LSU with all the sexual assault and the rape allegations, where the school worked with local law enforcement, with the judges involved, to kind of keep all this quiet. And they managed to do so for quite a while. Like this went under the Les Miles into the Orgeron era, right? And it wasn't until the second rounder played in Washington, Jackson Guise, when he was hit up for yet another rape. That's when it finally came out, and then LSU finally was like, well, we kind of like hid all this stuff, and we're going to hire this outside law firm to kind of do another investigation into it. And it's like, so like the NCAA can't handle it and the school can't handle it. So who does? Right. And so it's kind of like, it's a catch-22, because you can't have, these programs taking ghost classes. Right. And you also can't have the schools, like Baylor and LSU, where rape and sexual assault and sexual harassment are rampant, but there's no enforcement to end it, to end those things, because the school isn't going to do it, and the NCAA has shown that they can't do it. So it's kind of like, what do you do then? Like, how many times has Emmert been in front of Congress in the last year about like why is the NCAA not how is it not violating any trust? And he goes in there and he spews his bullshit. Like, is it going to take Congress to get involved? And let's face it, they can't even take care of the government shit. They're going to only fuck up college football more.
Yeah, and this always seems like some sort of show trial. And when we talk about these things as leftists, I love it when people are so anti, ad cab and all. Sure, yeah. But how do we handle things like rampant sexual assaults on college campuses? I mean, there's a reality to college campuses that people don't like to talk about. Usually this is the first time a lot of these people have been living away from home. No one likes to bring that up.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to go, this is why. Someone said rape culture. It seems like a buzzword. Let's throw that out there. It's like, okay, but a lot of bad decisions happen when people are left alone to their own devices and don't know any better. So what do we do? What should be done? Who does that fall under? It happens on campus a lot of times. So is that the school's problem? But then we always hear, well, the school covers it up. Okay, well, do you want law enforcement more involved? I'm asking the question because I don't know the answer. I'm not saying that I have the answers.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think we can have the answer, right? Like, and it's not even just, look at the Stanford swimmer, who, and it came out that like at Stanford that this was something that happens honestly quite often in like the white collar sports, like swimming, rowing, all that other rich people shit that they play that I've never even heard of, but then, you have like the thing with like Larry Nassar up at Michigan State, like it's finding the ability to, like, honestly, if we want to fix this, it's going to involve the NCAA actually funding a very robust regulatory and investigative arm, right? And I don't see Miles Brand doing that. I think it's going to take him stepping away and getting somebody who actually gives a shit about um, the actual athletes, uh, as well as the students, even the the non-participating, students, but like, I don't think that Miles Brand will be stepping away anytime soon. He's got a pretty, cake gig where he can just make millions and do nothing. It's perfect for somebody who's as feckless and worthless as Mark Emmert. Allegedly, because I'm not in the mood to get sued. He's allegedly useless.
I think you bring up serious problems that I don't think are outliers at some of these bigger schools. I think you and I right now could go fall into any college campus and see some disturbing behavior.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, a lot of that has to do with the good old boy mentality of the money making programs on these campuses, um, and the fact that I think, especially with football, right? Um, because football essentially balances the athletic budget at many of these schools. Um, and I'm not even talking about just the players. I'm talking about the coaches, the coaches and like the administration that, know that we're the moneymakers here. We are untouchable. You cannot fuck with us until we start losing. And at that point, your job may be in jeopardy, right? But I think that, and I use this term kind of ironically, that trickles down and actually will infect, the culture of the rest of the program. I mean, because we've seen it happen, like the DJ Durkin, the guy who, when he was head at Maryland, he had, uh, an unfortunate, like an 18-year-old kid die on a practice field, right? Well, all this stuff comes out when he was like the strength and conditioning coach at Michigan. And before he took over the defensive coordinator's job at Michigan, where, he was like literally just running these people into the ground, using, slurs, both ethnic and about people's sexuality. The strength and conditioning coach at Urban Meyer tried to hire in Jacksonville.
Urban Meyer, just Urban Meyer himself.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
So like, as long as assholes like that think that they're kings of the universe, and as long as like sports fans approach them like that, right, then we're not really going to see much changing. Like when we're talking about the attitudes of some of these players, there's a lot of players out there, man, that really want to start taking more control over their, I guess their careers, their college careers. The National Labor Relations Board, might be a ridiculous.
But look, this is just my opinion, and then let's move on to talk
Okay.
about as we're almost an hour in. My opinion is, with this new ruling that's going to allow college athletes in general to get paid, this is going to be massive, first and foremost, for female athletes and 3-star recruits that stay local, 4-star recruits that stay local. People now are viewing themselves as commodity, and they're totally fine with that. So keeping with this kind of subtext of what level of capitalist realism is in sports, I think it's on another level right now, because we're seeing something that we didn't see before. How many athletes can you watch on some ESPN 30 for 30 that says things about they couldn't read, they lost all their money with bad investments? These young people are coming in with their parents' agent and investment ready. Most of them now come from money. The hoop dreams narrative is a dead scene that doesn't exist. Even listening to a guy like Max Brown talk, who's only like 26, 27 years old, and talk about the fact that he was proud to be from a public high school in the suburbs of Seattle, which are quite nice, But because he went to a public school and a private, he goes, look, most of the big time 5 stars are coming from private schools because they got the money. We're seeing young people. There's probably people with kids that are watching the show right now that might be listening when this goes to audio on Thursday, that are parents of 6 or 7-year-olds that pay for AAU. Right? I went to go see my cousin's kid when I was still living in Oakland, was in Oakland. My cousin lives about an hour and a half north. And she calls me. She goes, Jason, I'm going to be in Oakland. My son's playing a game. Come check us out. I was like, I would love to see you. I love hanging out with my family. Anytime I get a chance to hang out with my family, I love it. And I'm watching my cousin's son play. He's okay. You know, he's like the rest of the little chubby kids at this 9-10 years old. His sister's over here trying to sink threes because she plays too. And my cousin and her husband are telling me how much money that they spend traveling. They're two very, very regular ass people. You know, and I don't say that in any sort of insult. I mean, you know, they very, very working class, but the amount that they pay just to get to the games, they don't even have the funds to pay for the extra coaching like some of these other kids have.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, and you're starting to see it with even in football, they have like these 6-on-6 leagues. They're called like elite leagues for like 12 and up, you know, and it's literally a showcase for skill players, right? Like that's all it is. But yeah, like those private, or you know, those like AAU type traveling leagues, they're a money pit. Like I don't know how people do it. Like in Hope Mills, which is like right down the road, it's a huge scene for Little League baseball. Like a lot, like they go like year in, year out. They're like in, you know, the Cal Ripken and the Little League World Series and stuff, right? And my kids played T-ball in this league, right? And you had people losing their minds. And I'm like, guys, this is fucking T-ball. Can we like bring it down a bit? And he's like, you know, and I've talked to a couple of dads. They're like, yeah, man, we spend, you know, we got 3 kids. They all play here. And we probably burn through about $2,000 to $3,000 a month just for the kids to play. And I'm like, fuck that, dude. I'm like,
it's so competitive. And at that, when you have that much invested in your child, it's foolish to think your child doesn't understand what you have invested in them. And it seems like it takes some aspect of fun out of the game. Look, I don't know. My oldest son swims. My younger son rides a skateboard, which I'm a huge proponent of. and the little one is only 3. But it's crazy to see how overly competitive these kids are year-round basketball or football. I'm like, what happened to you play basketball? Like, and that's another thing that this young man, Max Brown, was saying. He goes, I actually lettered in multiple sports. He goes, if it wasn't for basketball, there were certain skills I wouldn't have on the football field.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is this the new way we look at sports, where our kids are a possible commodity? So if we're not dumping gobs of money into their training, then we're afraid they're not going to be able to compete. The combine had ridiculous numbers for the 40 time for wide receivers and I think cornerbacks, right?
Yeah. Cornerbacks, wideouts, and believe it or not, even linemen now, only because you're seeing 6'6", 340-pound men that are able to sprint 40 yards in like 4.7, 4.8 now. Like it's yeah.
That's insane. But you know what that's from? We don't know what it's from. It's from these facilities, expensive facilities that train people. You're going to run the 40-yard dash like this. You're going to do this. You're going to this. The training that these guys have is on such another effing level. Go watch, if you get a wild burr in your britches, video from the Niners, the San Francisco 49ers, I want to say 78 to like 82. Go watch Fred Dean on the sideline with a cigarette.
Yeah. I mean, how many times did we see like Terry Bradshaw would like have the same thing, cigarette and a beer, like just
You're like, you're on the watching Michael Jordan in that long goodbye, whatever it's called, long kiss goodnight, fucking jump real high, everybody loves my shoes documentary. Drinking beer after the game. Like, I'm not mad at that. And then him saying things I thought was hilarious. He was like, when I first came in the league, these fools was drinking beer at halftime.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, you contrast that to now, to where you have people like Derrick Henry, right? Who doesn't drink at all. He's a vegan, like, and look at the size of that man.
Derrick Henry is frightening.
Yes.
I like watching people's workouts because it gets me motivated to work out. And watching Derrick Henry do that thing where he's standing on the balance ball and pushing people off with one leg.
Yeah.
To get his strength up. And you just see his core. And I was like, okay, I'm not doing enough with my life.
Yeah, like where you just sit there and question your existence. Like,
I was like, maybe I can do one more push-up.
Oh man,
I think the fact that these young people are going to be able to commodify themselves now and actually make a little bit of money. It's going to change the local guy that maybe a big star in town, but doesn't necessarily going to go to the league. That guy is going to change a lot for that guy. I think it's going to end up changing the sport a lot, especially for people staying. And I think it's going to do wonders for women because now women can do something they couldn't do before and have camps and get paid.
Yeah. I mean, I also think that with the influencer culture that most of these athletes are growing up with now, like they are probably, I mean, I'll be honest, they're probably more in tune with not how to be a financial moron like I would be. Like if I had NIL coming out, dude, I would have had the most like obnoxious Chevy Blazer, and
Well, I
told you when I had hair, I would have had lines in it. Like I would have looked like the fucking asshole, dude.
I told you, my buddy told me, right? My buddy, a few of his kids are in the NBA. He coaches at Oakland High, so he had Dame Lillard. And he was telling me when Dame first got into the league, he said those fools were falling asleep at the rookie symposium. He said a few years later, they're all sitting there with their laptops out, asking the speaker to stay longer, asking about investment and branding opportunities. These kids are on another level from high school. Another level. They understand their business. They understand what it's all about at the end of the day. And I think you're going to see more sports shows from these guys staying on locally. You're going to see more interesting podcasts. You're just going to see a lot of people trying a lot harder to commodify these aspects of their life, and they won't be looking to the league to pay them off because USC and UCLA kids, that's going to be a hell of a recruitment tool.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, it's like, this type of branding, like Steve said, these kids are serious about branding now. Like, but that ties into like what the whole show's about, like capitalism through a sports lens. They know that this is a way for them to make money if they brand themselves correctly, because it's not here anymore. Like say they flame out in college, there is no steel mill for them to go work in.
Nothing.
There's nothing. We don't produce anything. We are in the death throes of late stage service-based capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
And if this doesn't pan out, like the sport part pan out, they still have the brand that has shown you can become stupid rich very quickly. So I mean, we put a little bow on that one. Like we came all the way back. We circled a few times, but
No, again, watching this Max Brown dude, I actually signed on for his YouTube channel. He apparently has a 9-to-5 job, and that's why he's not very active on YouTube anymore. But he was doing draft breakdowns of every quarterback that came out last year and things he needed to work on, because the guy actually worked with the biggest of big time quarterback coaches. It wasn't his ability that got him knocked out. It was, kid got injured.
Yeah.
It's a fucked up numbers game. You can get caught in the shuffle when coaches leave. All that shit definitely affects you. But listening to him talk about his regular ass job is kind of awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like it humanizes them, because like, you're talking about like the dude that's just being very critical of professional athletes as they don't make it. And the thing is, it's like in the NFL, you have 57 roster spots per team now, right? Because of the added game. There's only 32 teams. Like, bro, not everybody's going to make it. Whether we want to or not, not everybody is going to make it. We have other leagues out there that, we've talked about this before. I'm all for, because it gives another chance for some of these guys to play ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like, like I said, there's 120 something, FBS schools, over 100 kids on some of these squads, right? Like, some of you guys aren't going to make it. But if you can make some money off YouTube and Instagram, hey man, more power to you, dude.
God bless. Are you having, dude? I had a long talk with my buddy, and Pascal said this not too long ago. People need to stop trying to commodify every part of their life, as I'm trying to commodify a sports show. People need to stop.
Speaking of which, if you like what we're doing here, guys, go ahead and throw some super chats our way.
Please help me pay Mac. I have to pay Mac. There's no super chats. It's rough. But seriously, a buddy of mine is I asked him for some music, and he was like, dude, I just released this album. And he's like stressed out about this album. I'm like, well, don't you have a regular ass job right now? Like, we're not touring. We haven't played a show in fucking 2 years. We're not gonna play a show, and it looks like we might be playing a show end of this year with some live show stuff we're about to start doing. But and I'm like, it's okay to have fun.
Yeah.
Like, don't let people make you feel like shit if you're not trying hard enough. You gotta, like, I fell down a rabbit hole in doing this video essay too of Gary Vaynerchuk videos. You know that guy?
No.
Good. Keep it that way.
I have a feeling I'm not gonna like
it. He's like the derivative of Tony Robbins. He's Tony Robbins for the TikTok, Instagram era. Like, I'm gonna overly simplify and be extremely more vulgar than Tony Robbins to tell you that you aren't shit because you're not happy at your job means you're a fucking idiot and you need to go do something that makes you happy. Like, well, maybe jerking off makes me happy.
Yeah.
How can I be a professional jerk off artist? Get an OnlyFans, man. Get an OnlyFans. Get your balls out there.
Oh God.
The window's open. I hope my neighbors are.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's and it goes to that grind mindset too. Like, man, put in those 80-hour weeks. No, bitch, I don't want to put in an 80-hour week, man.
80-hour weeks. You know what I want to do? I want to fucking have. Look, I told my buddy, I was like, look, man. Someone wrote a post on Facebook, and they were like, what bands do you think sold out? And I replied, anybody that's bigger than you. Right? That's the way people look at shit, right?
Yeah.
Even what we do right here, someone's calling somebody else to sell out. Like, why do they sell out? Because they're bigger than me. Like, that's just be honest, right? And the people that responded to me, because it was an industry guy, and we got some industry friends, and it was the industry people that thought it was funny because they know that fucking mentality. Like, we don't have to commodify every aspect of our lives. If our kids are having fun at playing football or baseball or basketball and they're a little good at it, great. If they want to go further with it, awesome. But let's not be who wants some of daddy's love?
Yeah. Tell you what, I will pass out hugs if we go 3 for 5 with a home run. And if not, you will get
Look,
crusted bread and water for dinner.
Look, son, you're keeping the marriage together because now me and your mom got to deal with each other at the AAU games.
The only way we can pay, the only way we can pay for this is if we're together and we hate each other. And the only time we're happy is when you do well. So keep that in mind, Bobby.
Back of your mind, okay? Back of your mind. We just want you to know that. It's okay to have fun.
Yeah,
my kid was not very good in basketball. My oldest son is like 5'7". It's not. He can swim his ass off. He's actually a very good swimmer. Basketball, he was not a dominant force, and I'm okay with that. He's okay with that.
I told my kids this. I was like, my son wants to play rugby, and I was like, that's not a problem. There's a good youth rugby pipeline here, and I was like, listen, I'm not gonna force you into anything. If you want to play, your mom and I will make it happen. My daughter is very artistic. So when she was like 8, she's like, you know what? I don't really like sports. I was like, okay, kid, that's not a problem. But like, she enjoys like drawing and painting and like all this other, like she's very creative and we support her in that. My son, he likes video games and drawing. So, his big dream is to be a game developer. And I was like, in my head, knowing everything that's going on, like Activision Blizzard and how underpaid they are, I'm just like, oh, don't do that, dude. But out of my mouth is, you know what, buddy, you can do anything you want.
You having fun, little dude? All right.
Yeah.
Let's go have like now in my 40s now with a little kid, I can actually have fun. And I look at dads that are younger and how like stressed out they are, or their kid picks up a basketball and it's like, yep, you're going to the league. I don't know. Maybe not, because you're 5'8" and you married that small Asian woman. So there's a good chance he's not going to jump out of the gym.
Yeah. And that's okay, man. I'm with you. Like we need to enjoy things more. We need to laugh more. But do you know who did not enjoy the last week or so?
That's a good segue.
Thank
you know what? Can we give that up to Mac for a great segue? LeBron James.
And the Lakers overall. Now, I specifically wanted to talk about the Lakers because we talked about them before. Like, should their championship get an asterisk because it was in the bubble and all this, right? Which, Marcus and I both said no. Everybody was dealing with COVID. That was a safe way to have a season and a chip. Like, it made sense, right? But what doesn't make any sense is how they put this team together. I'm baffled. And I learned I need to become someone's agent so I can fail into the general manager's position with the Lakers. Because I can't do any worse than Rob Pelinka right now.
Can we first of all admit LeBron James went to the Lakers for one reason? He wanted to go to Hollywood.
Yep.
Because he wanted to produce movies and television, and that's what he's doing. He's doing it at a high level.
Oh yeah, I mean he's set for life, and it's this year especially. Like, and we've said it once, we're gonna say it again. LeBron James, the general manager, really fucked LeBron James, the player, right? Because early in the season it was Buddy Hield, like he's a sharpshooter. Was in Sacramento. He's currently in Indy right now, like Indianapolis. That was who Pelinka wanted to go out because he knew LeBron's going to be on the ball. This team desperately needed shooting, and Buddy Hield, like he was that guy. And then, Davis and LeBron went to Pelinka and they're like, no, man, why don't you bring in Russ? And like, if you've watched any basketball, right? Westbrook is a bulk shooting, turnover prone, non-defensive playing on the ball guard now. And it's just like, that's not going to, be successful when LeBron James is going to be your primary ball handler. And I kind of get why they wanted to bring a guy like Westbrook in to kind of take the ball out of LeBron's hands, to kind of like give him a little freer reign on the floor, and like lessen the workload. But like, Jesus, man, like that team was full of like LeBron's boys who are at the tail end of their careers, playing on veteran minimum deals, um, you know, and just nothing else. Like it was so bad to watch. And like, me as a Cavs fan, I wouldn't, especially the beginning of this season, where like these are the baby Cavs, man. Like these are all young players, and they're between their rookie and their third year for the most part. They're Cavs are playing in a playing game this weekend. If they beat Brooklyn, they go on. They go on to the next one, right?
Is it playoffs for basketball already?
Yeah, like they have the play-in tournament, so your bottom seeds play each other, and then they go forward. So
can we get some super chats so we can fly Mac out to Mexico to watch basketball in downtown Rosarito at one of these eateries that serves the $15 lobster?
I can't eat the lobster, man. I'm allergic to it, but I will smash anything else. And as long as I get beer and tequila, I go.
In abundance, my friend. In abundance.
That's what I'm talking about. But like, it's kind of odd, because the Lakers set this championship standard, right? Every year, even during those last few years of Kobe, they're like, we can still win it. It's like, no, you can't. Like, come on, dude. Like, you're not winning with Kobe at this point in his career, right? But the Cavs, honestly, there was a couple injuries towards the end of the season. That's why they ended up in the play-in. But like, at one point, they were like fourth in the East. And it's like, how did that happen? With a bunch of kids, and these are really young kids. And I thought the Evan Mobley draft was, pick was great for Cleveland, because he's done everything and then some. He's going to be the offensive rookie. He's going to be the rookie of the year in the NBA. I don't think anybody can argue that point. But like, it's just like the Lakers season was this comedy of errors that I find hilarious, because like Lakers fans are just all up in their feels about it, and it's like, dude, yeah, you were really excited when LeBron got there, but this is what you get, right? When you have LeBron on the team at this point in his career, he gets to call some of the shots, especially when you have a really kind of like placeholder head coach, and a front office run by, again, a man who was one player's agent for a very long time, and knows the people, knows the Bus family and Kurt Rambis, so like he worked his way into that job. But like, I wouldn't say he's a good evaluator of talent. Not that the Lakers need that, because they have no draft picks. But like this, it was just, it's kind of sad,
Do you think, and I know we're getting a little long here. Thank you, Steve, for the super chat.
Yes, thank you, Steve.
I got 5 on a Spirit flight. Ass going to be sore, but you will get there. That is Steve. Look, for the people that listen to this show on the audio only, and there is way more listeners audio only, you have to watch it live and be part of the chat, just to see the crazy shit that JB and Steve throw out. And Dr. Claw is kind of like the voice of reason. But these are younger cats, and they're insane. And I'm looking at all the shit you guys are saying, and I have to start saying it out loud now on air, because this show does way better audio only than it does on the stream. But do you think LeBron's made some comments about loving Steph Curry?
Yeah, I mean,
do you think LeBron ends his career in Oakland? Because he actually played some AAU ball in Oakland.
Yeah, I mean,
in Oakland.
I mean, the thing is, I don't think he goes to Oakland because he's not going to take a team-friendly deal again. and that's the only way he's going, to the Bay. Um, he can say, I want to play with this guy, I want to play with this guy, but the fact of the matter is, like, he's a $40 million a year player, and he's going to continue to be that standard for the rest of his career. And with the way that the NBA salary cap structure is, look at the Warriors right now. They've got, you got Steph, you've got Clay. They're both on max or near max deals, right? Draymond, he's up there too. So like they're Steve Latham, the owner or the governor of the Warriors, it was like, dude, I will pay. I don't care. I want titles. I want banners. I want the Warriors to be the standard, the new millennial standard, right? But I honestly don't think he breaks the bank like that to bring LeBron, because like his tax bill would be awful, because like essentially every dollar you're over, you have to pay X amount to the NBA, right? So like the first year you're over, it's like 50 cents for every dollar you're over. Then the next year it's 1-to-1. And then like year 3, it's $1.50. But like in year 4, it's a stupid high jump, right? Like I think it almost quadruples. So I don't see him, like, he's a rich dude, don't get me wrong, but I don't see him going, you know what? We'll bring LeBron up. And hey, NBA, how much is my tax bill? Oh, $600 million. Gotcha. Like, I just don't see him doing that.
So you don't think, because I someone who wrote something about Braun wants to go to the Warriors, and I saw a little news thing somewhere that said something about Steph Curry and Braun talking about they love each other and all this other shit. And I was thinking, how insane would ticket prices be? My son, so Phoenix's mom is a Warriors fan. She's a big time Warriors fan. I will say one of the things I actually miss about staying at that house is basketball season, especially right now. I'm sure she's screaming at a television. Like I would scream at Broncos games like I'm a damn fool, but this woman would scream at Warriors games. Scream. She's possessed while she watches the television set. And I always thought that was rather funny and attractive. And she would get tickets to the game. Not all the time, but enough.
Yeah.
Like we went to go one Christmas. We went to go see the Warriors play in the box seats in the new stadium. And I didn't like the new stadium. It didn't. There's something about watching those games in the old stadium. The convenience of where the old stadium was.
These new basketball arenas aren't any fun to watch games. Like I went to the Q last year after they like completely like redid it, and it doesn't look anything like it did when it was first built, man. Like, and it's just like, I remember going to Cavs games at the Richfield Coliseum, which was like an hour outside of Cleveland, right? And it was like, and it was full of the woods, Jason. Like it was just dropped down in the middle of this forest. So like it's in the middle of nowhere, and it was a dump. Okay, even like by the time I'm old enough to go to games, like this thing is a piece of shit arena. But like those old stadiums had like a certain character to them. You know what I mean? Like that I really dug.
Stories, right? Like I'm sure your parents probably, because you're native of the Cleveland area, so your family's got stories to tell. Now I have a little one. I got stories to tell about going to see Oakland Invaders games at the Coliseum. That was my first ever football game. Was watching the Oakland Invaders play when I was like 6. So yeah, and the new stadium is like, it's nice, right?
Yeah.
And we had box seats. We were in a luxury box, so that's a totally different experience. But the amount of money that you had to pay to go to a damn game,
yeah,
it didn't seem worth it. And I'm like, if the Warriors got LeBron, and they just said, fuck it, we're going to take these tax L's. and we're all just because we know we're gonna sell too much merchandise. The
Yeah.
Bay Area is a transient city full of bandwagon fans. I've been a San Francisco Giants fan since 1986, when mom started dating a Giants fan that would watch the Giants games and record them and then break down the film. So we had TV in the living room, and if I wanted to watch television, I had to watch this don't fiend motherfucker, but like break down Giants games. But it gave me an appreciation for the Giants, and I became a fan. Giants were not a great team. We lost in '89. I live in the East Bay, so that's where Oakland is in the East Bay, or that's where I'm from. So when the Giants lost, all my friends were A's fans. I got shit on hard, right? You were a Giants fan. You was taking some L's unless you lived in the city.
Yeah.
Which is what we call San Francisco. When the Giants won that World Series in 2010, was it? The first one was 2010?
Either that or 2011. They won in even years, right? They won
even years.
Like,
so yeah, 2010. So 2010 is the first year they won. I saw so many fucking Giants hats out of nowhere. Because it was a winner. Everybody wants to they want to be swagged out with winter shit in the dope city. You live in the tech capital of the fucking world. Your team just won the World Series. It was nuts. It was nuts. All the Giants fans that came out of nowhere.
Yeah. I mean, and that I noticed that when the Warriors started winning too.
Oh, there's no look, Mac. I've been black for 44 years. I've been watching sports for the majority of that time. We couldn't get Warriors games on regular TV. You had to watch that special TV that only old people watched to see Warriors games. You know what I'm talking about? The non-cable channels, the non-network affiliate channel.
Yep.
You had to watch. That was the only way you was going to see Joe Barry Carroll and the rest of them motherfuckers play, or people play. I'm over here cursing. We were all Lakers fans. If you were a kid growing up, that's why there's so many cats in the Bay Area that are my age are Lakers fans. They were the greatest show around. Magic Johnson, Kareem.
Yeah, the Showtime Lakers. Yeah.
Who gave a damn about the Warriors? Nobody cared about the Warriors till Tim Hardaway and Chris Mullin.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it was just kind of like fleeting moments of success, because like it seemed like they would get a good ball rolling and then they would fall off the face of the earth again,
Yeah. The Warriors fan base isn't real. Just like that, I don't know any real Angels fans.
Yeah.
I don't know any real. If you're a Chargers fan, you're probably like an old cat from San Diego, and you're like a legit. Like if you come to me with like a real deal Chargers story, and you're talking about like, I remember John Hadel played.
Yeah. Or like, hey, I remember Fouts throwing to Kellen Winslow. Okay, so like,
if you even go back that far, that I'll give you some. If you go back to like, Fouts, we'll give you Fouts. If you go back to Fouts years, I'll give you mad probably. Like, okay, you're a real deal fan. There's no Los Angeles Chargers fans.
No
one gives a damn about the Chargers. No one gives a damn about the Clippers. There's a stadium. The basketball stadium the Clippers played in originally is still in San Diego. I don't know how it's even a place that they allow people to go inside of. We were there for Yo Gabba. We were there when I was on tour with Yo Gabba, and I was like, why are we inside this place? Like this stadium is. We've been in stadiums all over the North America. The worst one we're in is in the most beautiful city in the country, San Diego. It's horrible. It's horrible, and it's still standing. That to me is a testament to why every team tries to leave San Diego, because no one gives a damn about that B market.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, when I heard that Ballmer is going to build, like, he's going to go ahead and build his own arena for the Clippers, I was like, that's ballsy. Right, like that.
Billy Crystal buys that many tickets.
Yeah, like he's got the whole like court side. There's like 6 other people in there.
It's just foreigners.
Yeah. You got a bunch of like people that got lost. They're like, what, the Lakers don't play here? Oh shit.
It's like people that go to North Carolina University Fayetteville and think it's the Tar Heels.
Yeah. Oh man. My favorite, like, because we have Fayetteville State, which is an HBCU, but it's part of the university system.
Mm-hmm.
But like the website says FSU UNC dot edu, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing like veteran stuff to help vets like get into school and shit, right? And this dude like sends me a nasty fucking email complaining. He's like, I thought you helped me apply to FSU. Right? And I was like, bro, did you not look at any of the literature that said FSU Broncos? And he's like, I just clicked the link, man. I just clicked the link, and now I got into Fayetteville State, but I want to go to Florida State. I'm like, okay, well, go to the Florida State website and apply, man. Like, I was like, dude, you did 10 years in the Army. I know you know how to read at least. Like, God.
I was in we were on GABA, and we were in South Carolina, and I had a USC hat. And this older gentleman tried to scold me and tell me that the Gamecocks were the real USC. I was like, man, get the fuck out of my face with that crazy shit.
Bro, I'm not even like a Trojans, but when I see motherfuckers like say that, like here, like USC or South Carolina's USC, I'm like, dude, they haven't won anything ever. Like, you can't say that you're the one when like on the other side of the country, you've got a school that literally has to build an annex building to put all their trophies in. Right? Like, knock it off, dude. You can't be USC, the USC when
who went to South Carolina? Was it Sterling Sharp? Didn't Sterling Sharp go to South Carolina?
I thought Sterling Sharp went to like South Carolina State.
I think his brother did.
Yeah, dude. I mean, nobody goes.
If anyone in the chat knows where Sterling Sharp went, I swear Sterling Sharp went to South Carolina. I could be wrong, but I swear that's where he went.
I mean, but no one goes to, No, he did, man. You're absolutely right. He did. He went to South Carolina.
Thank you, ESPN.
There you go. But like, it's just it kills me, man. Like, I don't understand cats like that, dude. It shocks me to no end. But we let's just knock this one out quick, right, Jason? Like, for the last little topic we had, I know everybody's seen all the sanctions against the Russian folks, including one Roman Abramovich, who owns one of the largest professional football clubs in the EPL and Chelsea FC.
Is he related to the artist? I wanted to ask you that, and I never got a chance to.
I have no idea.
You know Marina Abramovich, the artist, is present? Yeah,
I don't know if they're related. I just know this dude's rich as fuck. But the thing is, it's like, because the UK jumped in on this the sanctioning against Russian businessmen and oligarchs, which we need to start calling our own very wealthy businessmen oligarchs as well if we're going to do that, right?
That's fair.
But he had to put this team in a trust, and it's being sold, right? Because it's a way for him, it's an asset for him, so he's technically not allowed to have it by English law right now, right? So there's a couple like owners. You have the Ricketts family, which own the Chicago Cubs. There's another couple wealthy families, and of course there's going to be some oil Emirati family that is probably going to put a bid in as well, because that's what they do whenever an EPL club comes up. But the only time I can really remember a league forcing an owner to sell was Major League Baseball. That's the only league I could really remember. I know in the 90s, they forced Marge Schott to sell the Reds because she got busted in a Sports Illustrated interview.
We're talking about N-words, right? This is some about N-words?
Oh, not just dropping N-words. She had like a Nazi armband that she showed to the reporter. And it was like in this case that was like, right. if you remember the Dodgers.
Wait,
Oh,
wait a minute. Is that why Marge Shaw was trying to like even stuff out with Chris Sabo? Like, there's too many of these donkeys on the team.
Yeah.
You got Jared Locken.
That is literally what she was doing, right? Like she was like, this is Sports Illustrated. Like this is the early 90s. This is when print media still mattered, right? And she is just going to town like, back when I originally bought the team, I wouldn't have to worry about paying, fill in whatever expletive that you want, because she used them multiple times during this interview, right? We had good upstanding boys like Chris Sabo and Paul O'Neill, and I couldn't afford to pay him, and he goes to New York, and he's just like losing her mind, and like it's just nuts, right? So Major League Baseball is like, yo, we have to get rid of her. So after like a lawsuit, they managed to find a buyer, right? And they get her moved out. You had the McCourts in LA with the Dodgers, who had no real cash money. He owned property in Boston, parking lots specifically, which he used as collateral to take out loans to buy the Dodgers, right? And then he was just essentially going to use that as his bankroll, like you were talking about, ticket sales and merchandise, and except that the Dodgers were a middling team during his ownership, and he's getting divorced, and it's California, half, right? Like, so what ended up happening is they go to court, and Frank McCourt is like, listen, my wife, I will give her whatever she wants. She can have all these parking lots in Boston. It's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And she's like, nah, I want to own this team. and they're just fighting this out in court. And Major League Baseball was finally like, listen, this is one of our premier franchises. Like, you cannot like be dragging it through the mud. So they came to this settlement where like McCourt, whatever he got on the team, like he would have to split it, a certain percentage with his, now ex-wife, but like you typically don't see a lot of leagues forcing, team owners to sell teams, right? And you also typically don't see them being, sold or moved to new ownership or management as part of like a political act, which is exactly what this was, right? So that's what I thought was kind of telling, because if this is a thing now, this is like kind of like ripping off the Band-Aid, right? How many other leagues are going to end up doing the same thing when another flashpoint hits up like this, right? Because this isn't, I don't know if everybody knows this. This is not the first shooting war in modern Europe. It seems a lot of, respected journalists forgot about, I don't know, the Balkans, in
the 90s.
Yeah. But
that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah. It's within our lifetimes, guys. Like, but okay.
I was out of high school when that happened.
But this isn't going to be the only thing, this is not going to be the only, flashpoints that are occurring, because we're seeing, this kind of bipolar political system that's really kind of, unfolding in Europe, like Orban in Hungary. You have the new Serb president, and we may even see it happen in France with Marie Le Pen, right? So like we're seeing a lot of these countries being pulled to the far right that are very nationalist, that are looking at reclaiming places that should be part of their country, right? So like I think this is probably going to be something we're going to see more often. And honestly, I don't think it's a very good precedent to have.
No, it's actually kind of scary. It's actually kind of scary that's the knee-jerk reaction to everything like this, and we'll see it keeps up. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. We will see you not next week, but the following week. Don't forget, Wednesday, we are airing the video essay, Personal Jesus, the Seduction of Philanthrocapitalism. And right after the video essay airs, we will be doing I don't know who is going to be on the show with me. Pascal definitely is going to be there. He's fired up. There's some other people that I think might show up. I'm not sure yet who's all going to be there, but we'll definitely, it'll be a fun, good time. And as we go out, since you brought up Abramovich, Marina Abramovic, the artist.
Riviera set us straight on that, so thank you.
I wanted to show you and everyone watching what she did. So she's a visual artist, and on This Is Revolution, maybe we'll do a whole show about this era of artists, Soviet era artist that Marina was with her former husband or partner, Uday, forget Eastern European names. There's a reason why he's Deep State Cuba. I can't say his last name without butchering. I don't want to disrespect one of my best friends by butchering his last name. But she does this thing. The last big thing she did, there's a documentary about it if you care to watch it, called The Artist is Present. And she sat in this chair, forget how long she was at the MoMA in New York, and she would just stare at people.
Is that the one with like the table? Like
she's
sitting at a table? Okay,
yes. Yeah, it's really intense. And she did some crazy stuff with her ex dude. The last thing they did before they broke up was they walked across the Great Wall of China on opposite ends, met up and hugged, and then didn't see each other for years. And so this is the final thing that that I think she's dead. I don't know if she's done anything since, but the dude surprises her, and she hadn't seen him in like decades, and they were like madly in love, artist thing. Yeah. And I did that. For those of you that don't know, I for 7 years I toured with my now ex-wife all over the world and lived a crazy arty life. So this definitely hits me in the
little bit in the feels there.
A little bit. I mean, I'm sure if we saw each other, it wouldn't be like that. I'd be like, hey, what's up, dude? Been a minute. Yep. We both got a few more grays. Yep.
Yeah. Good catching up. Gotta go. What if I just rolled up in there and like lit a cigarette? Just.
People were like crying and shit.
Yeah, I don't. I guess my brain. Well, I was an infantryman for 16 years, so I have no good taste in anything.
I don't know what any of it means. I need someone smarter than me to tell me. But I feel like that lady too. Like, what?
What is going on? Why is she just sitting there?
Is she gonna dance? Well, watch this. Get your coat right.
It's got nice kicks, man.
Oh,
respect
yeah. Look at this. bam, and he just fucking bounces.
That's too deep for me, man.
I don't. Always like me and my ex, we actually watched that, and we didn't know what it was about. We actually had saw that clip, and we're like, damn, how do you say a million things to somebody without saying anything at all? Like that's on some like deep next level shit. The whole motherfucking random cats like walking up and sitting down. I was like, yeah, whatever, dude. I don't get it.
They're like at the moment, they're just like, yo, there's this woman sitting at a really big table. You know what? I'll go sit down for a little bit. Like, bring a book. You're just like, what's up?
Oh, dude, that when she sees him, you're just kind of like, oh man, like the stories they did crazy stuff.
Oh, yeah,
again, both sides of the Great Wall of China, and then they just they walked up and then they met up and hugged, and they're like, all right, now we're done doing this stuff together.
I don't know if I've ever liked anybody that much that could elicit a reaction out of me like that. I think that's a me problem. Honestly, it really is. But what are you gonna do, man? Like 40 now, I ain't changing for shit.
Yeah, if I ever see someone and that music plays, then I will have known it was for real.
Yeah, I mean, that should be the measurement now. Like if you know that you have met the right person, that's just playing in your head, and you're like, you know what, this is my person. This is who I'm going to sit at the big table with. Yeah, we're just going to stare at each other.
That's the measurement of is it for real? Can you sit at the big table with her, not say anything and say everything at the same time? That's
right. And I would be really bad at that because like I'm gonna be probably a little drunk. I just want to. I don't like silences like that. It's like, yo, can you say something and anything? No. Oh, okay. We're doing
saying
this.
Everything with my eyes. Oh yeah, dude. Every time I watch that, I tear up because I'm like, damn. You just because I also watched their life story and followed some of the stuff they did, and while I don't truly understand everything they did a lot of crazy crap all throughout Europe. And as someone that did crazy crap with someone all over the globe, it's as you've done crazy crap with people.
Yeah, but not in a good way. Not in a good way. Right? Like that is a whole other episode about the dumb shit Matt's done. You need to go ahead and be like, hey guys, we're skipping sports today. We're just gonna let Mac talk about the dumbest shit he's done while overseas. I could probably get you 2 straight hours out of that because I did a lot of dumb shit.
Oh, someone, I can't remember who, sent a message via Patreon and asked for you guys to do an episode on the F-35.
Oh, I would love to.
We have to figure out how we're going to do it. If you guys want to do it, but someone literally asked, and I think they've asked multiple times for it, and so now I'm saying it on air so everyone can hear that I've actually said it on air.
That is going to be a hell of an episode because that is, everybody knows the United States government likes to waste money. Nothing has been a bigger money pit, honestly, than that particular aircraft, and it still doesn't work. It still does not work.
They wanted you guys to do an episode on it, and I'm like, I need to tell them that, and I've been lagging on telling you guys that because I'm lagging on so much work. As I hang up this show, I am going to go back into the dungeon and finish cutting clips, as I won't be on the show Saturday. I'll be driving up north. So thank you guys again for hanging out with us for another episode of Beyond the Red Zone.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, also, rest in peace to Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah, definitely. That one caught me off guard. That was
crazy.
Yeah, that was a kid. And if I see Adam Schefter on the street, he's getting an ass whooping.
What did Adam Schefter say? I don't know.
When he broke the news, he said Dwayne Haskins, whose career has been stalled by like his career, was struck by a vehicle and killed early, whatever morning. But it's like you couldn't have just said Dwayne Haskins, 24 years old, was struck by a vehicle and killed in an unfortunate. No, he had to get a dig in there about how his career hasn't panned out the way that people thought it would. Keep in mind, he's 24 years old. He played on a really bad Washington team that didn't know how to really coach a young quarterback. He was in a great position with Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh, where he was going to get a shot against Trubisky. And Tomlin had a lot of and Haskins and had said he was doing a great job, learning a new playbook and getting in the swing of things. So Schefter can he's gonna catch these hands if I ever bump into him in public. Like,
I didn't know any of that. I called him a flame out. Oh wow.
Yeah.
I mean, let the kid. He was only 24.
Yeah, he was 24 years old. And like he's. I can't imagine what his family is like going through. At that time, and you're gonna put out on Twitter that this dude, was a bust. Like that was the priority of the tweet, not the fact that he died. In an unfortunate, accident. Like, just Schefter's a piece of shit.
Again, the value that we put on people. 24 years old, you haven't had a chance to do a lot in life to F up all the way. You got some time to redeem yourself. We don't know who you're going to be. So, you want to get the retweets and you want to get the hot take, the hot fiery take. I guess that's what people want to see. I'm sorry, this won't be the hot fiery take. Everybody sucks that I don't like show. And that's saying a lot because I really don't like the Big Ten and the SEC.
That's fair. Because I don't like the Pac, whatever it is now.
Well, thank you guys, and everyone have a good night. And hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow night on This Is Revolution. Mac, have a good night. Have a good workout.
I appreciate it, man.
Are out.
Peace.